Good evening, everyone. I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself, have you ever felt the pressure to always be the agreeable one? The person who never says no, even when it compromises your own goals. Have you found yourself seeking approval so desperately that you give away your time, your energy, and your self-respect just to maintain the image of being a nice person? If you have, then you know how draining it can be. You know that tiny sting of regret when you spend an entire weekend helping someone move their furniture, only to realize you missed a crucial moment in your own life, and yet you keep on doing it. You keep on smiling. You keep on sacrificing. Tonight, I want to talk about a subject that's going to challenge you, shake you, and hopefully inspire you. How being too nice can kill your success. It might sound counterintuitive at first, because the world teaches us that kindness is a virtue. Kindness is powerful. Kindness can uplift entire communities. But there's a line where kindness turns into self-sacrifice, a line where too nice becomes an obstacle to your ambition. I'm here to remind you that you can be both respectful and assertive, both compassionate and determined. But too often, we let a fear of conflict, a fear of hurting someone's feelings, or simply a desire to fit in, take precedence over what truly matters to us. Being too nice can sap your willpower, waste your time, and rob you of the opportunities that come to those who can stand firm. I see so many people in this room, in this world, who have dreams in their hearts, who have visions of what they want to become, but they're drowning in commitments that aren't theirs to bear. They're bogged down by the weight of other people's expectations. They're lost in an endless loop of, sure, no problem, when their inner voice screams, enough is enough. I'm speaking about this because I've seen the same pattern in my own life. Early on, I wanted to please everyone, to make sure nobody had a negative word to say about me. But I realized that once you start living for everyone else, you become a stranger to yourself. And that's no way to find the success, the fulfillment, the greatness that you're meant to achieve. So let's confront it. Let's confront the ways being too nice can poison your destiny. And let's talk about real steps to break that habit. When I say it can poison your destiny, I mean it with every fiber of my being. It's not that we should be rude, arrogant, or selfish. It's that there is a danger in living to be liked. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through 5 ways that being too nice can stand between you and the success you deserve. And I'm going to share how we can shift our mindset and our habits so that we never again confuse niceness with self-betrayal. I need you to open your mind and your heart. I need you to look inward and be honest about the times you said yes when you should have said no. I need you to remember those days when you neglected your own passion because you couldn't bear to disappoint someone else. When you else. Ask yourself, how did it feel? How long can you keep going like that? How close are you to losing sight of the person you want to become? Because this moment right now is about reclaiming your power to decide your path, to set boundaries, and to act with integrity toward yourself. The world may call you a lot of things, but the label, too nice, should not be one that hinders your growth. Let's dive in. First, let me be clear. This isn't an excuse to go out there and become disrespectful or unkind. Instead, it's a call to find balance, to choose when to be generous and when to stand your ground. You're allowed to fight for your dreams. You're allowed to stand firm on your convictions, and you can do so with a good heart. But let me warn you, if you never learn to pull back, if you never learn to say, no, you can get used up so fast in this world that you'll have nothing left. Nothing left for your ambitions, your relationships, or your future. So, let's explore the 5 ways that being too nice will kill your success. And let's figure out how we can transform that habit into a strength rather than a weakness. First, the need to please everyone around you becomes a distraction from your own mission. Imagine you have a grand dream. Maybe you want to write a book, start a business, excel in your career, or transform your community. But each time you set aside a block of time to make progress, your phone rings, or someone knocks on your door, or a friend calls you up with yet another request. They need a favor. They need someone to talk to. They need a volunteer for a last-minute project. And because you want to be nice, you oblige. After all, turning them down might mean they see you as unhelpful. Let's be honest, that fear of being judged can be paralyzing. You might think, if I say no, they'll see me as selfish, and I don't want that. But let me tell you something. Being too nice drains you of your focus. One small interruption becomes another, and another, until you realize you spent your entire week helping everyone but yourself. I've watched people dedicate years of their life to everyone else's goals and wind up resenting them, and more importantly, resenting themselves for not moving an inch closer to what they truly want. Look deep into your own story. Have you ever watched a dream slip away because you were too occupied pleasing the crowd? That's the painful truth. Too nice often equals neglected ambition. It's like watering every plant in the neighborhood while your own garden withers. You can tell yourself it's a worthy sacrifice, that you're just a good neighbor. But at some point, you're going to look at your own bare patch of dirt and wonder what happened to the flowers you always would bloom. The harsh reality is that if you keep giving all of your time away, you'll never have the time you need to cultivate your dream. So how do you fix it? You create boundaries. You schedule your priorities first, and you become fiercely protective of that schedule. That doesn't mean you stop helping others. It just means you help from a place of strength. After you've already taken care of your responsibilities, if a friend calls you up in the middle of your writing session, you can say, I'm working on something important right now. Can I call you back later? That short sentence is a powerful move. It teaches you and them that your goals matter. You might be worried about how they'll react, but ask yourself, do you want to live at the mercy of other people's reactions, or do you want to fulfill the destiny that's calling out to you? Sometimes people respond with admiration and respect when you stand your ground. Sometimes they might accuse you of being less available. But think about it. Is that necessarily a bad thing? Being constantly available doesn't translate into success. It translates into burnout. Stand up for your dream by carving out the time it needs. And if you find that hard to do because you feel guilty, remember this. Every time you invest in yourself, you become stronger. And from that position, you have even more to offer the people you care about. Look at the difference between someone who is well rested, focused, and accomplished versus someone who is scattered, exhausted, and always behind schedule. Which one do you think can truly give more in the long run? That's why you need to get rid of the idea that saying no makes you a bad person. It doesn't. It makes you a person with a backbone, a person with direction, a person who won't be sidetracked by the noise around them. And once you master this boundary, you'll realize that your productivity and your sense of fulfillment both skyrocket. You're no longer running on empty. You're running on passion and purpose. That's the transformation we're after. So, the first way being too nice kills your success is by distracting you from your mission. But once you learn to protect your mission with healthy boundaries, you begin to reclaim your time and energy. Now, the second way being too nice will kill your success is by inviting people to undervalue your worth. Think about the times you've offered your skills or your time for free or for much less than you deserve, simply because you didn't want to risk seeming greedy. Consider the countless quick favors you've performed, the advice you've handed out, the hours you've spent solving other people's problems, all without demanding any recognition or compensation. There's a saying, if you don't respect your own value, the world won't either. I learned that lesson in my own career. Early on, I was so eager to prove myself that I accepted roles, tasks, and even deals that didn't value what I brought to the table. In my mind, I was being the nice, flexible, humble guy. But in the eyes of some, I was simply a person who didn't value his own work. And when people see that, they start to treat you accordingly. They'll come back to you again and again because they know you'll do things cheaply or maybe even for nothing. If you continue to oblige, you reinforce their assumption that your talents and your time are not worth much. How does that help you ascend to the success you seek? It doesn't. It keeps you small. It keeps you running in circles, catering to people who won't help you grow. Consider real-world examples. Many talented freelancers, for instance, keep their prices so low that they can't pay their bills, all because they're afraid to upset a potential client. They think, if I charge what I'm really worth, they'll walk away. I want to be nice. Meanwhile, those same clients end up paying top dollar to someone else who demands their full value. You see, a market or an industry is rarely kind to the timid. The person who knows their worth ends up being respected, sought after, and compensated fairly. It doesn't mean you can't ever volunteer your services or lend a helping hand. Of course you can. But do it deliberately with a reason. Don't let that become your default setting, or you risk turning into someone who's always overlooked. The stakes are high. Undervaluing yourself is not just about the money. It's about your confidence, your sense of self, your dignity. Over time, repeatedly selling yourself short chips away at your self-esteem. You start questioning whether you really deserve more, and you might even forget how capable you truly are. That's a tragedy, because success demands a healthy relationship with your own value. If you want to stand out, if you want to make your mark, you've got to believe that you have something remarkable to offer. Here's the solution: establish and communicate your worth. Define what your time is worth and stick to it. Learn to negotiate without apologizing for what you bring to the table. Practice saying, "My fee is non-negotiable," or "I'm happy to help you out. But let's discuss a fair arrangement." That might feel uncomfortable at first, but you cannot climb your way to greatness by constantly lowering yourself. Let me give you a concrete illustration. Imagine a friend who's always asking you for professional advice. She calls you at all hours, picks your brain, and you generously give her everything. Then, when she starts her own project successfully using your guidance, she doesn't even credit you. You feel used, perhaps even betrayed. But ask yourself, did you ever set boundaries? Did you ever make it clear that your advice is valuable? People treat you how you teach them to treat you. If you teach them that your time is worth nothing, that's exactly what they'll assume. Being too nice robs you of the respect and compensation you should be getting for your hard-earned skills. Don't wait for others to hand you that respect. Demonstrate why they should. The result will be that you attract people, opportunities, and compensation that match your newfound standard. And that, my friends, is how you elevate yourself to new levels of success. Moving on. The third way that being too nice derails your success is by stifling honest communication. We often shy away from saying what we really think because we're afraid of confrontation or hurting someone's feelings. We bottle up our opinions, our criticisms, our concerns. But guess what happens when you never speak up? You start to lose your voice. You become complicit in your own frustration. You walk around with a plastic smile, never revealing the truth of what's in your heart. And that, my friends, is a recipe for discontent. Not just discontent in relationships, but discontent in your professional life too. Because innovation, growth, and leadership all require honest dialogue. Imagine you're working on a team project at your job. The direction the project is taking looks flawed to you. You can see the pitfalls and the wasted resources, but you don't speak up because you don't want to sound negative. You don't want to be the one who points out problems. So you keep your mouth shut. Then, when the project inevitably fails or underperforms, you're stuck thinking, "I knew this would happen. Why didn't I say something?" That's a terrible feeling. Or consider a relationship scenario. Your significant other does something repeatedly that bothers you. Maybe they belittle your aspirations. Maybe they dismiss your achievements. Yet you remain silent because you want to keep the peace. Each time you swallow your frustration. Eventually the resentment builds until you explode in anger or you withdraw entirely. Neither outcome is healthy. That's what happens when niceness becomes dishonesty. If you want success in your career, your relationships, your life, you need honesty. People can't grow if no one tells them the truth. You can't resolve issues if they're never brought to the surface. And you certainly can't lead with integrity if your voice is lost in fear. A lack of open communication also holds you back because you don't get the input or the help you need. If you're always smiling and pretending that everything is fine, people assume you don't need anything. But deep down, maybe you're struggling. Maybe you need resources, partnerships, or simply a shoulder to lean on. By staying silent, you alienate your potential allies and sabotage your own progress. So how do we move beyond the fear of confrontation? We start by recognizing that confrontation is not necessarily aggressive or destructive. It can be a sincere desire to find a better way. It can be an act of respect to yourself and to others because you're saying, I believe we can handle the truth together. Honest communication paves the road to solutions. It brings clarity. It exposes misunderstandings that are holding you back. It fosters respect because you demonstrate that you care enough about the project, the person, or the relationship to speak up. That's how leaders are born. And make no mistake, you can be honest and kind at the same time. It's all about delivery. Instead of accusing someone or pointing fingers, you can say, I value our work together. I see a potential issue here and I'd like to discuss it. Or, I appreciate you and respect your opinion, but I need to share what's on my mind. These are ways to remain considerate while also being truthful. If you're stuck in a pattern of silence, start small. Practice voicing a minor concern. When you see that the sky doesn't fall, you'll build courage to speak up on bigger issues. Over time, you'll realize that authenticity trumps shallow niceness. People might not always like what you say, but if it comes from a place of respect and genuine concern, they'll often come to value your contribution. And more importantly, you'll respect yourself for standing by your convictions. That's real confidence, the type that fuels your success rather than hinders it. The fourth way that being too nice undermines your success is by allowing people to drain you emotionally. Have you ever been stuck in a relationship, personal or professional, where you do all the giving while the other person does all the taking? You're always the sounding board for their problems. You're always the one who forgives, overlooks, and smooths things over. They never really apologize, never reciprocate, never take your needs seriously. You keep giving because you're nice. You tell yourself you're being compassionate, you're being supportive. But in reality, you're being used. Now, that might sound harsh, but we have to face the reality. There are people out there who will take advantage of your kindness without remorse. It's not your job to fix them or to keep a toxic dynamic alive just because you feel bad walking away. If someone is draining you emotionally, you're spending energy on them that you could be devoting to your aspirations and your well-being. This doesn't make you selfish. It makes you responsible for your own mental and emotional health. Success doesn't just happen. It requires stamina. And that stamina depends on you guarding your energy from those who only drain it. Sometimes, the hardest thing to do is to walk away or at least limit your exposure to people who exploit your kindness. Maybe it's a friend who only calls you to complain about life without ever asking how you're doing. Or a colleague who constantly shoves their workload onto your desk because you'll never say no. Or a partner who belittles your ambitions but expects you to support theirs. Recognize the emotional toll this takes. Recognize that you're not obligated to remain in a one-sided relationship. When you fail to set limits, you send a message that your feelings, your time, and your sanity are not important. Over time, that can lead to a deep-seated resentment that eats at you from the inside. It can lead to exhaustion because you're investing so much emotional labor that you have nothing left for yourself. And it can lead to a loss of clarity because when your mind is clouded by these draining interactions, you can't focus on your big goals. So how do you set limits? You start by identifying those relationships that leave you feeling exhausted, used, or unappreciated. Ask yourself, does this person ever put an effort to help me, to support me, to even check in on me? Or is it always about them? Then decide how much of your emotional bandwidth you can afford to give. That might mean reducing the frequency of contact, establishing boundaries about what topics you're willing to discuss, or in extreme cases, cutting ties altogether. It's not about hating anyone or blaming them. It's about self-preservation and acknowledging that you deserve relationships that are nurturing, not depleting. By protecting your emotional energy, you free yourself to devote that energy where it can truly blossom on your work, your dreams, and the people who genuinely reciprocate and respect you. And there is such power in reclaiming your emotional space. You stand taller. You breathe easier. You see possibilities instead of obstacles because you're no longer weighed down by guilt or manipulation. You give yourself permission to flourish. People might call you not so nice anymore, but that's often just their way of saying, you're no longer giving me everything I want without question. And that's okay, because you're not here to be a doormat. You're here to fulfill a destiny that requires strength, focus, and emotional resilience. When you let go of what's toxic, you make room for what's nurturing. That's a step toward true success, not just surviving. Finally, the fifth way that being too nice sabotages your success is by limiting your willingness to take risks. Let's face it, success is not a stroll in the park. It's a journey riddled with challenges that require you to step into unknown territory, to try new strategies, to face the possibility of failure. If you're overly concerned with pleasing everyone, you might shy away from the bold moves that success demands. You'll play it safe, stick to what's comfortable, and avoid ruffling any feathers. But guess what? No legend was ever made in their comfort zone. Sometimes you have to be willing to disrupt the status quo. You have to be willing to stand alone, to be misunderstood, or even disliked. Because your vision takes you outside the realm of everyone else's approval. Think of the great innovators throughout history. People like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, or Oprah Winfrey. They didn't build their empires by adhering to everyone's expectations. Niceness. They made tough calls. They faced critics. They stuck to their guns when others doubted them. They risked failure, ridicule, and rejection. That doesn't mean they were nasty or unkind. It means they refused to let the desire for universal approval dictate their decisions. This fear of risk often shows up in simple ways. Maybe you have a business idea, but you hesitate to pitch it because you're worried about looking foolish if it doesn't work out. Or you want to launch a creative project, but you dread the criticism that might come your way. So you keep quiet instead. In the end, you settle for less than your dreams because it feels safer to remain nice and unchallenging. But here's the truth. Failure is a part of the road to success. Criticism is a byproduct of doing anything meaningful. Not everyone will cheer you on, and that's okay. Your dream is your responsibility, not theirs. If being too nice means you never step out of line, never take a leap of faith, you're condemning yourself to a life of mediocrity. How do you break free? You start by accepting that pleasing everyone is impossible anyway. No matter how hard you try, someone will always have an issue with what you do. So why sacrifice your future for the impossible task of getting universal approval? Once you free yourself from that burden, you can focus on what genuinely matters to you. You can channel your energy into taking calculated risks that move you forward. When you try something and it fails, see it as a lesson, not a catastrophe. When someone criticizes your idea, ask if there's any constructive feedback in there you can use. But don't let it define your self-worth. Remember that boldness is often what separates those who dream from those who achieve. If you look back at your life 10 or 20 years from now, do you want to say, I stayed safe and everyone liked me? Or, I dared to pursue my dream, even if it made some waves? The latter is how you leave a legacy. The latter is how you transform your life. Yes, you might lose some people along the way, those who wanted you to remain small and agreeable. But you'll gain so much more self-respect, genuine allies who support your ambition, and a shot at the greatness that you once only envisioned. Being too nice keeps you from taking those crucial leaps. Releasing yourself from that prison of approval allows you to take flight. Now, as we wrap up, let's remind ourselves of these 5 crucial points. Being too nice can distract you from your mission. Invite people to undervalue your worth. Stifle honest communication. Allow others to drain you emotionally, and limit your willingness to take risks. These aren't abstract concepts. They're real-life obstacles that many of us face every single day, and each one of them chips away at your potential for success. But here's the good news: you can break free. You can learn to wield your kindness like a powerful tool rather than letting it become a weakness. We've explored how to do that by creating healthy boundaries, by respecting your own value, by speaking up with honesty, by protecting your emotional well-being, and by daring to risk disapproval in the pursuit of your dream. If you take these lessons to heart, you'll discover that you can be a person of integrity, empathy, and generosity without sacrificing the future you envision for yourself. You can shine your light and share it with others without letting them extinguish your flame. That's the essence of healthy, balanced kindness. You don't have to become the villain to succeed. You just have to stop betraying yourself in the name of niceness. Let's take this a step further. The world needs your contributions. It needs your ideas, your talents, your leadership. And if you're constantly held back by the compulsion to please, then the world is missing out on what you could truly offer. Think about all the people who could benefit from your success, the lives you could touch if you operated from a place of strength, not subservience. This is not just about you. It's about the legacy you leave. It's about the ripple effect you create when you step into your true power. Embrace the fact that you will never be universally liked, and that's perfectly fine. Some of the most impactful individuals in history were polarizing figures at some point, precisely because they had the courage to stand for something. As you step into a more assertive role, you might lose people who only benefited from your constant compliance. But you'll gain respect from yourself and from those who recognize the worth of what you do. And in time, you'll be surrounded by individuals who value your contributions rather than exploit them. Don't be afraid to redefine your identity. If you've always seen yourself as the nice one, it may feel unsettling to put your foot down, to negotiate assertively, to speak your truth. But that's where real growth happens, in that zone of discomfort. Rather than viewing it as losing your identity, see it as refining it. You're still kind, still caring, but now you're also firm, confident, and dedicated to your vision. That's not a loss. That's an upgrade. This transformation won't happen overnight. It requires patience and practice. You might slip up and revert to old habits. When that happens, don't beat yourself up. Recognize it, correct it, and move forward. Over time, these new boundaries and behaviors will feel natural. You'll look back and wonder how you ever managed life when you allowed yourself to be stretched so thin. So, what do I want you to do next? I want you to act. I want you to find one situation this week, maybe at work, at home, or in your social circle, where your default would be to say, "Ah, yes," or to stay silent. Then I want you to push back. Just once. Say, "No," or at least, "Not now," and watch what happens. Speak up about an idea you've been hesitant to share. Name your price for a service you've been giving away for free. Draw the line with someone who's been draining you. Confront that fear head on. Yes, your heart might pound. Your palms might sweat. You might worry about the reaction you'll get. But on the other side of that fear is liberation. On the other side is a life where your success isn't compromised by the need to please. And once you get a taste of that freedom, you'll want more. You'll realize that your time, your talents, and your voice are precious. You'll stop giving them away cheaply. You'll start directing them toward the people and pursuits that truly matter. And that's how you inch closer to life you've always wanted. My friends, this is your invitation to rise the trap of being too nice. This is your permission slip to prioritize your destiny. And here's the irony. When you operate from a place of genuine self-respect, your kindness actually grows more authentic. You're not doing it to be liked. You're doing it because it's who you are and because you can afford to give without depleting yourself. That kind of kindness is powerful. It's real. It changes lives in a way that a people-pleasing habit never could. You have the capacity to succeed and to be compassionate, to be loving and to be focused, to serve others and to serve your highest potential. Don't let the illusion that you must always be nice deprive you of everything you're capable of achieving. Let's step into a future where your dreams get a chance to breathe, where your talents are recognized and rewarded, where your voice stands firm in the face of opposition. Let's make it clear to the world that you're not to be underestimated or undervalued. You are here to make a difference. And that difference starts when you decide that your success, your well-being, and your vision matter. And guess what? You don't need anyone else's permission for that. You only need your own. So I want you to leave here tonight with a fire in your heart, determined to balance your kindness with self-respect. Recognize that you can be a light in other people's lives without dimming your own. Acknowledge your worth and demand that others do the same. Don't fear the tension that comes with standing your ground. Embrace it as the birthplace of growth. Because in that tension, you'll find your true voice, your real calling, and the unstoppable momentum that drives you toward genuine success. This is where I challenge you to go beyond the talk, beyond these words, and do something tangible. Maybe it's that conversation you've been putting off, the one where you express your real feelings. Maybe it's that negotiation you've been dreading because you're not sure if you deserve more. Or maybe it's as simple as refusing a request that, deep down you shouldn't agree to. Whatever it is, take that step. Do it bravely and do it soon. As you do, remember that you're not losing your heart by being firm. You're actually protecting your ability to share it in meaningful ways. You're ensuring that your contributions come from a place of passion rather than obligation. And in doing so, you step into a level of authenticity that attracts opportunities, respect, and the right kind of relationships. Look around you. Every person here has a story, a dream, a reason they showed up tonight. You're not alone in this struggle. We're all figuring out how to be kind without being invisible, how to chase greatness without stepping on our own toes. By choosing to value yourself, you also inspire those around you to do the same. You create a culture where true generosity is honored and where exploitation can't take root. When enough of us make that shift, we transform entire communities. We build circles of empowerment, not just networks of obligation. As you walk out that door, take one last moment to reflect on your journey thus far. Think about the moments when you let your dreams take a back seat because you were too afraid to disappoint someone. Think about the lost opportunities that slipped through your fingers because you said yes to something that didn't serve you. Don't dwell on them, the regret. Use them as fuel. Use them as reminders of why you're ready to make a change. And as you envision your next steps, see yourself standing taller, speaking clearer, and acting with purpose. See yourself saying no when you need to. See yourself negotiating without flinching. See yourself confronting issues head on, offering honest insights instead of a forced smile. See yourself walking away from what depletes you and running toward what energizes you. Let that vision guide you. Let it remind you that you deserve success, happiness, and respect as much as anyone else. Let it push you out of your comfort zone and into the realm of possibility, because that's exactly what we're talking about here. The possibility of a life where you are kind and you are successful, where you're generous and you're fulfilled, where you help others but never forget to help yourself. That's a life of balance, a life of purpose, and a life that you can look back on without regrets. And so, I leave you with this final call to action. Respect yourself fiercely. Guard your time, guard your energy, guard your dreams. Don't let the fear of being anything less than nice stand in your way. Your voice, your vision, and your value matter far too much to be stifled by a habit of perpetual pleasing. The world needs your brilliance, and you need your own permission to let that brilliance shine. Take that permission now, carry it forward, and never look back. Thank you. And may your journey be blessed with courage, clarity, and the unshakable knowledge that you are worthy of everything you aspire to achieve.